Welcome back, everybody, to The Haunted Beard. My name is Jake. Thank you for joining me. Today, I am continuing in making my way through the Child's Play franchise. Today, I'm going to talk about Child's Play 2 from 1990. Let's get into it. So, Child's Play 2 starts off with what is more or less like a cosmetic surgery sequence underneath the credits, where Chucky is essentially being stripped down and then rebuilt. And really, from this opening credit scene, we understand that Chucky has resurrected and he has now been made anew. He is alive, and of course he's going to be going after Andy once again. We also learn right after the credit sequence, inside the toy factory between one of the toy executives and his assistant, in this really sort of efficient extended take scene that gives us all the exposition that brings us right up to speed. We find out that Andy's mom has now been checked into a psychiatric facility, and the police are more or less keeping hush-hush on all the events of the first film, and they're trying to do damage control. And it's here where we get our first kill with some pretty cheesy 80s CGI here, where Chucky is officially resurrected and he kills one of the toy workers. Next, we learn about Andy, that he is now in foster care and is being at least temporarily adopted by this new family. He's going to live with them for a little while. And then we see Chucky escape the toy factory after finding out Andy's new address. And this is where we get our next kill scene of the toy executive's assistant in the car. And this scene kind of felt a little bit weird to me, just in terms of the guy's performance. He seems unusually calm, having being held at gunpoint by a talking, living doll. And he just plays it off so, casually. It just comes across as kind of weird and awkward to me.
Don't move! Jesus! God, okay, what? Okay, what do you want?
No questions, just drive.
Okay.
He almost acts like this is just a totally normal event and like he's talked to a doll before. It just is really weird. Anyways, Chucky ends up strangling this guy with a plastic bag. And that kind of brings me to one of the big things about Child's Play 2 that I think is a bit of an improvement over the first film, and that Chucky here is bigger and badder. And they really use this film to kind of flesh out his personality. They give him some more one-liners. He's bigger, he's badder, he's meaner. They really amp up the Chucky vibe here, and this scene here is where we really get our first taste of that. Next, we cut back to Andy, and we see him in his new home with his new foster parents. And one of the things the film brings up that it never really answers, and that I'm still not really clear on, is that the foster parents say that Andy has really sort of turned the events of the first film into his own fairy tale, and that's kind of been his coping mechanism in order to deal with all the trauma from seeing a bunch of people get killed in the first movie. But my question is then, if Andy has turned that into a fairy tale, who do they think is responsible for the murders? Because clearly they don't believe in the whole story of Chucky, the live doll, killing everybody. So does that mean they believe that the mom is the killer? Certainly they don't think Andy is the killer. I'm not really sure. The film doesn't really tell us that, and they never really say. So if you know, let me know down below, because I'm still not really sure what everybody thinks happened or who was the real killer. One of the things that Child's Play 2 does that is really just a continuation of the first film. In a lot of ways, it is kind of a retread and very similar, but it continually plays into the fact that nobody believes Andy. And he sits there screaming at the top of his lungs saying, "It's not me, Chucky did it, Chucky did it," and of course nobody believes him. Everybody thinks he's crazy and he's just making up stories. And that's exactly what happens here when the foster parents find out that one of their prized porcelain doll possessions, or whatever it is, gets destroyed. They blame Andy, but of course Andy says it's Chucky, and of course they don't believe him. Then they find Andy, who is tied to his bed by, of course, Chucky, and they think it is Kyle, who is the other foster girl living in the house. And that brings me up to talk about Kyle, because I think she's actually a pretty good character. I kind of like her role, that she doesn't totally believe Andy, at least like first, so she's like everybody else, but she still takes a liking to him, so she cares about him and shows interest in him and kind of becomes like his big sister and ultimately is out there to protect him and rescue him. And so I think they do a pretty good job with Kyle's character overall. And after this, we get to what I think is the first genuinely good and fun scene that I really enjoy in the movie. And I bring that up to say, really kind of make an overall point, in that while I do think Chucky is bigger and badder and he gets more of his personality fleshed out, I just don't quite have as much fun and overall entertainment with Child's Play 2 as I do with the first film. And I think in large part it's due to the fact that it just feels very similar to the first movie. It really just feels like a retread with just some little changes that aren't really all that significant.
Hey, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
But there is still some fun to be had here, and like I said, here's where we get our first pretty great scene with the kill of Andy's teacher. And his teacher is played by Beth Grant, who I have seen her in a handful of other films. She's a somewhat recognizable face, and it seems like her character is always someone that you just love to hate.
Andy, I told you to stay in your seat. Come out of there. Open this door right now.
And her character in this movie is no exception. She is somebody who is only in the film for just a few minutes, but kudos to Beth Grant's performance in just creating somebody that you just love to hate. She gives us enough of her character to know that we do not like this woman at all, and seeing Chucky take out his vengeance and wrath against her is just a lot of fun to watch. So because Andy gets attacked by Chucky at the school, Andy runs home to get to safety. Again, he tries telling his foster parents, particularly the dad, that Chucky is after him. But his dad opens up the basement door, and of course, Chucky's right there where he put him the night before. So he doesn't believe him once again. Then we get the foster dad's kill scene, which is okay. It's not really a great kill. Chucky trips him down the stairs. He ends up hanging off of the kind of the railing and then falling and breaking his neck. And that kind of leads me into one of the things about the kills in Child's Play. And particularly because of the killer, because he's a 2-foot doll and is essentially just like an animatronic robot, a lot of the kills have to be shot in a certain way that kind of dampens the effect. You really don't get like the hard-hitting, brutal, gory punch with some of these, because they kind of have to cut and edit around it. And so some of these, the kill shot is a bit of a cutaway, and it just kind of lessens the effect to a degree. Then we get a pretty fun scene not too long after this where Kyle finds out that Andy's been telling the truth the whole time about Chucky, and she goes upstairs to investigate, and she finds the mom slaughtered and killed by Chucky. And then there's this cool kind of little fight scene. Andy gets taken back to the foster home, and Chucky takes Kyle hostage and forces her at knife point to drive to the foster home as well. Then we get the next kill, which is also another pretty fun one. The kill of the foster warden. I don't know what you call her. It's Grace Zabrisky's character. And another pretty fun kill where she gets stabbed by Chucky, but then she falls on the photocopier, and you get a bunch of these photocopies of her face as she's dying. And it's just this wickedly twisted, disturbing, demented type kill that is just pretty entertaining, and I quite enjoy it. Then the film culminates into the climax. In the last 15 minutes of this movie, we find our main characters, Chucky, Andy, and Kyle, at the toy factory. And we get what is a pretty great final climactic sequence. Chucky finally gets his moment with Andy where he lays him down and yells out the chant to transfer his body back. But it's too late, and now Chucky, as if he wasn't already amped up and angry enough, has now cranked the dials to 11 and is pissed.
It's too late! I've spent too much time in his body!
And like I said, this whole just climactic sequence is just a whole lot of fun. We get the maze through the boxes. We get Chucky chasing Andy up the little conveyor belt roller coaster type machine. And of course, he gets his hand trapped in the gate and he rips his own hand off and turns it into a knife. I mean, how cool is that? Even just the industrial set design is here. There's a bunch of cool colors. I just like the whole production value of this entire sequence. Then we get just this really corny but kind of fun kill with one of the toy employees as he gets trapped on the conveyor belt and gets killed with the eyeball machine inserting eyes into the dolls, only it's his face. And then Chucky gets trapped in the, I don't know, toy torture chamber or whatever you want to call it, but he makes it out of there barely alive, and then Andy opens the lever and it pours molten hot plastic on him, and then we get melted plastic Chucky, and then we get just this cool gnarly explosion killing Chucky once again. And thus concludes Child's Play 2. And like I said, I don't quite have the amount of fun that I have with this one as I do with the first film. Yes, Chucky is meaner and madder, and he gets more one-liners, and I appreciate that. I do like the ending sequence a little bit better, but I just can't help but the whole thing, it feels like we've already seen this. There's not really much new. It's pretty much just a retread, and so it doesn't really ding the overall score too much, but overall, I just have a little bit better and more fun of a time with the original Child's Play within this one. But with that being said, I'm still going to give this, I'm going to go 6.5, maybe a 7 out of 10 for Child's Play 2. So there's still some good fun to be had with it. So that concludes some of my thoughts on Child's Play 2. Hit me up down in the comments though below. Would love to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts on Child's Play 2. Next up, of course, Child's Play 3 coming at you. And also, if you like videos like this, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. This is what I do on The Haunted Beard. It is all horror and thriller movie content coming at you. So hit that button. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you next time on The Haunted Beard.